Interesting stuff. Ali McCoist alongside Jeff Stelling on the latest episode of the Talksport Daily podcast. If you want to hear that episode, then you can find the Talksport Daily on all podcast platforms right here, right now. Scott Minto's alongside me here on Talksport 2. Fireworks going off at Bodø Glimt tonight. It's a tiny little ground, holds only 8,000 or so. 400 have made the trip from Manchester. That was all Manchester City got in terms of the allocation. It's a freezing cold night and the floodlights are on. Scott, on Pep Guardiola, as Ali was saying, only he knows the full truth. But what have you made of his body language, particularly after the game at Old Trafford? Because he wasn't doing any of his usual coaching after the final whistle, was he? Or speaking to players or going across to the referee. What do you think that says about where his mind is at the moment?
No, I don't think we can read too much into one particular game, Joe, to be honest with you. And what I know of Pep Guardiola, and Ali's absolutely right, we don't know. We're all guessing here. But what I know of him when working on Spanish football when I did, and I wanted him to be at Barcelona a lot longer, but the information that I picked up there, that he's someone very much who he'll see out his contract. Wherever he is, he won't break a contract. Now, obviously, he could walk away and everyone would understand it, because it would be 10 years this summer that he'd be at Manchester City. I mean, that's an incredible amount of number when you think he's only really been anywhere else at sort of 3-4 years, no more than that. But no, I don't see him going. I think he has already sort of rebuilt. I look at what he did in the very prime Manchester City. It's not recency bias, but I think that's the best team English football has ever seen. And to win 4 straight top-flight titles, something not even Bob Paisley, Sir Alex Ferguson, or anybody could do, I think it's nothing short of sensational. I was surprised at the amount of the fall-off last season, but I wasn't surprised that they weren't going to win it. And it feels like even now, you know, Sir Alex Ferguson went 3 years without winning the title. And I don't remember that many people asking those questions about him then. And yet we're asking questions about Pep Guardiola now. I personally think he will see out his contract. I think he's been a sensational manager, arguably the greatest manager in English football, certainly one of. That is inarguable. But I think he will stay to the end of his contract, the end of next season.
Well, the two teams are out here onto the field of play, this artificial surface. Let's have a dip in and a listen to one of the most iconic anthems in football. Isn't it, the Champions League anthem? This is a special night for Bodø Glimt. They are yet to win in this season's league phase. They're probably going to be eliminated automatically, but they've come close to better results on more than one occasion over the course of the Champions League campaign so far. They conceded an injury time equaliser at home here against Juventus. They blew a 2-0 lead here against Tottenham, you might remember, earlier on in the season, and they got a 2-2 draw away at Dortmund in their last competitive game on the 10th of December. So it won't be easy for Manchester City. Scott Minto, 16 points, a bare minimum of we needed to finish in the top 8 last season in the league phase. Manchester City on 13 points at the moment, so they need at least one win and quite possibly 2.
Yeah, I mean, you would think they would get, should we say, 3 points between Bodø Glimt away and Galatasaray at home. Now, they want to get all 3 points tonight to make sure they hit that magic 16, which certainly still won't guarantee, but we'll have to wait and see how results go elsewhere. But if you think about last season, they've already bettered last season's tally of 11 points. So I do feel they're going to. I'm very confident in them finishing in the top 8. Where they'll finish in the top 8, I don't know. But as we saw last season, it doesn't matter. Liverpool finished first and got knocked out in the knockout rounds, and then obviously PSG were in the playoffs and went on to win it. So it's about peaking at the right time. But in terms of those 2 extra games where they're already playing 7 in February, that would be the last thing that Pep Guardiola would want. So get the job done tonight, get the job done against Galatasaray, and just have those 7 games, Joe, in February.
Well, Manchester City are in their change kit tonight. It's a very dark green blue away kit with a light green trim. And Bodø Glimt, well, you'd be forgiven for thinking Manchester City were up against Borussia Dortmund tonight. They are in bright yellow with black trim. A reminder of the two teams. Donnarumma in goal for Manchester City. Lewis, Kusanov, Alain and Ait Nouri. Rodri holding. O'Reilly and Reinders either side of him, Foden and Cherki in support of Haaland up front. And for Bodø Glimt, Haken is the goalkeeper, Sherbolt, Bjørtuft, Gundersen and Bjørkan, Evjen, Berg and Fett, Blomberg, Herg and Hauger are the front three. Terrific atmosphere at this tiny little ground, holds less than 10,000, and it is below freezing, -2 degrees, as the home team prepare to get us off and underway. Manchester City desperate to bounce back from Derby Day defeat and solidify their place in the Champions League top 8. Can they do that here in the Arctic Circle? We're off and underway. Bodø Glimt from right to left in the first half, and Manchester City attacking from left to right. High ball downfield is headed away straight away by Manchester City's Kusanov, and now darting forward up towards halfway is Rico Lewis, and Aït-Nouri is then fouled, and Manchester City have a free kick on the halfway line. They put themselves in a good position to reach the top 8, have City, albeit they're only a point clear of Liverpool, who are just behind them in 9th. Liverpool live tomorrow on Talksport in the Champions League away in Marseille. Tonight on Talksport 2 we'll have Inter against Arsenal at 8 o'clock, and over on Talksport a simply massive game as Spurs take on Borussia Dortmund. Manchester City with Aït-Nouri, who has started out in the right back position in these very early stages, a very left-footed right full-back, rolls the ball backwards to Kusanov with the red boots on, and now Max Allain, a landmark night for him, making his European debut, the man who impressed on loan at Watford in the first part of the season. And it's easy possession for Manchester City in the early stages. Bodø Glimt 0, Manchester City 0, and here's Scott Minter.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? We thought that maybe Nico O'Reilly would be playing a little bit further ahead of Aït-Nouri, but I mean, when they've got the ball, it's almost just 2 at the back and then 5 in midfield and 3 up front. Aït-Nouri being on the right, he'd be comfortable with that for sure.
Oh, they've lost the ball here though, Manchester City. Herg is into the penalty area, onto his right foot, lays it square, cleared away, and then the shot driven in takes a big deflection. Herg tries to reach the rebound, smuggled away by Kusanov. Messy defending from Manchester City. It's on the edge of the penalty area again, this time with Fett. Rolls it wide to Bjørkan on the near side, the left, taking on Cherki. Back to Fett once more. Well, there was no great shape to Manchester City's defending there. They've got players behind the ball now. Bodø Glimt still have it deep inside opposition territory in front of the small band of travelling fans who've made the long trip from the northwest of England to northern Norway. Bodø Glimt go back to the halfway line and the chance is gone, but that's a big early warning sign for Manchester City. Herg, the front man, looks for Blomberg. He's offside. And it'll be a free kick to Manchester City as Pep Guardiola watches on, arms folded, and I have to say, he looks very unimpressed.
Well, and so he should be. I mean, that was shocking defending on 2 or 3 occasions within that sort of passage of play. And how Bodø Glimt didn't get a shot off. 2, maybe 3 players had the opportunity to do that. And then the ball came out, went back in again, and 2 Bodø Glimt players got in the way of each other. Now, Donnarumma didn't come out, and he was man of the match for City at the weekend, but I'm expecting him to come out and claim the ball. But what an opportunity for Bodø Glimt to get an early goal there.
This game is brought to you in partnership with TNT Sports, the home of European football. Bodø Glimt 0, Manchester City 0. Early ball down the City right. Aït-Nouri is chasing. Right hand edge of the penalty area. Haaland waits in the middle. It's back to Ryan Cherki with the bright yellow boots on. Rolls the ball up the inside right to Reinders, who tries a cross. He actually stumbled there on the plastic pitch as Fett came across to meet him. And it's a goal kick to Bodø Glimt. And their goalkeeper, the former Chelsea, Portsmouth and Reading youngster, Nikita Haken, who was key in their run to the semi-finals of the Europa League last season, where Bodø Glimt were beaten on aggregate by Spurs. There's no fear in the home side's approach so far. Bodø Glimt all in yellow, and Manchester City just trying to settle themselves down in the game after the disappointment of last weekend at Old Trafford. And it's Bodø Glimt who have looked the more likely to score in the early stages here. But here comes City with Cherki, midway inside opposition territory. Wide right is Ait Nouri again, all left foot, waits for the run on the underlap of Rico Lewis, who pulls it back to the near post. Rodri couldn't get there, smuggled away by Berg, and kept in play by Cherki, who goes back to the halfway line.
Yeah, Ait Nouri's right back, and Rico Lewis is playing a little bit in front of him, more central. But he's able to get in behind as well. If Ait Nouri's making those overlapping runs, then Rico Lewis would make that underlapping run, and he was played in, got to the edge of the goal line, cut the ball back, and the City player wasn't able to get on the end of it. And look, it's what we expect. City will dominate the ball, but we also know that they're still not the team they were a few years ago in terms of, you know, stopping that transition and not looking vulnerable defensively, and they certainly have in the first 5 minutes.
It's match day 7 of the league phase. One more week to go. That'll be live across the Talksport network on Wednesday next week. Cherki in support of Ait Nouri, who's got the ball inside the area. Cherki again from the angle, shoots, turned away by the legs of the goalkeeper. Haken at his near post, determined not to be beaten, fizzed at him by Ryan Cherki, but the goalkeeper able to deflect it behind for a Manchester City corner.
Yeah, slightly surprised he didn't start the game at the weekend. He certainly came on and tried to make a difference, but it's a wonderful talent. It's a good shot, it's a really good save as well.
First corner for the Champions League winners of 2023. Delivered in by Foden, left-footed in, swinging! Oh, what a miss! Was that O'Reilly? No, it was Lane who got his head to it inside the penalty area. I mean, he must have only been a couple of yards out, and on his European debut, he really should have had his first European goal.
He's 4 yards out. There's no one picking him up. They're doing zonal. It's a wonderful ball in from Foden, so no one's actually challenging him. It's a free header. And what an opportunity for the youngster as well. He was superb against Newcastle. Don't think he was particularly bad, but was under pressure at the weekend, but what a chance.
At the other end, Hauge for Bodø Glimt inside the area, pulls it back across and can't find anybody in a bright yellow shirt. Steered away by Phil Foden of Manchester City. And still goalless, but quite a lively start, Scott, in the first 6.5 minutes.
Well, this could be 2-1 to City already, couldn't it, in terms of, you know, big chances. Certainly Bodø Glimt should have got a shot on goal and probably even a goal themselves, but City have come back, and yeah, I mean, that was a wonderful opportunity for the youngster to score.
Well, City should be ahead. O'Reilly back in the left full-back position, the red boots on. Tall and slender Nico O'Reilly finds Reinders trying to turn on a sixpence, loses the ball. Berg in the penalty area, smuggled away by Rico Lewis after the initial challenge by Kusanov. And now Cherki carries the ball over the halfway line. He's got two square, Haaland and Foden. Cherki has held the play up and he waits for the onrushing Rodri to catch up with him. Rodri then steers the ball back to the centre circle where Kusanov is waiting. And Manchester City have slowed the game down to walking pace.
Well, it's good to see Rodri starting again, getting many minutes under his belt now. Well, I've been asked about Cole Palmer, about him being taken off, and talk about not wanting to get injured again, and certainly Rodri has done that, but the only way you see the best of a player is when they get 3, 4, 5, 90 minutes under their belt. I think that's really important for players who have been out to do. Yes, of course, they have to be managed, but it does look like now that Rodri is ready to be let off the leash, and in the next few games we'll see him really dominating matches.
And the home support, 7,500 or so, making a good noise here at the Aspmyra Stadium in Glimt, which is a small town. Forward strides Rodri, good angled ball out to the right hand side. Ait Nouri is onto it, right corner of the penalty area, steers it square, looking for Cherki, could deflect into his path, cleared away by Shervolt in the end, the right back, out towards the far side, the left, and it'll be a Manchester City throw. There's one section of the stadium which almost looks like it's bouncing itself, such is the jubilation of the home supporters who've become used to big European nights over recent seasons. But this is their first ever season in the Champions League proper, so it's a landmark campaign for them. Manchester City go back to goalkeeper Donnarumma, all in pink. Donnarumma, who I thought was absolutely outstanding in the Manchester derby, Scott.
Yeah, he was. He was City's standout player by a million miles, and I mean, the scoreline flattered City. It didn't flatter United, and That's thanks to Donnarumma for sure.
Kusanov with a header forward to Lewis, who's certainly playing in a central role. The diminutive Rico Lewis wearing number 82. Manchester City in their change kit tonight of all dark green with light green trim. Cherki sprints into opposition territory, goes out wide to Ait Nouri, who's down by the corner flag. Near side of the field, he rolls a 10-yard ball back to Rico Lewis, squaring infield to Foden. Back out to Lewis, ball up the inside right, chasing here to keep it in play. Deftly enough was Reinders. Now Cherki back to Lewis, and no way through at the moment for Manchester City. Bodø Glimt have got everybody in bright yellow behind the ball here, and there are very tight pockets of space as Lewis picks out Cherki, and he looks for Haaland. Haaland spins, turns and tries to chip the keeper, and he can't do it. I think it was going wide, gathered by Hakin anyway.
Yeah, it's an opportunity for him, isn't it? It's not happened for him scoring goals recently, but the Champions League is certainly a competition he is scoring for fun in, and he'll be looking to score here tonight in Norway, of course. So as he's come on his left foot, I thought he might have just put a bit more whip and a bit more pace. I'm not sure he's going on target, but the keeper certainly saved it.
Yes, he could be the first player from Norway to score against a Norwegian team in the Champions League proper. Haaland back on home soil tonight.
He will be, let me tell you, just a question of when.
Well, maybe it will be tonight. He's on a goal drought by his high standards.
He is. He's rubbish, isn't he?
1 in 7. Get him out of the team. And Cherki with his back to goal lays it back to Lewis, and they're settling into it now, Manchester City. That's a good diagonal ball by Lewis out to the left, the far side. O'Reilly takes it down with ease away from Shervold, plays it back into the feet of Reinders, and now Rodri, a powerful midfield figure, Manchester City legend, score of the winner in the final in 2023. Back with Kusanov now, just inside Bodø Glimt territory. Bodø Glimt certainly sitting off Manchester City and allowing the Premier League side to have the ball as Ait Nouri meanders down the right, then looks infield, pokes it back to Rodri. No great pace to this City attack, but Cherki's knocked it wide to Ait Nouri. Suddenly the pace increases, into the box surges Ait Nouri, and it's hammered away by Gunderson before Ait Nouri could get a shot away left-footed.
Yeah, what they're trying to do defensively, it's almost like a 4-3-2-1. I thought Christmas had finished, to be honest with you, but there is the kind of Christmas tree formation. They're allowing the ball to go out wide and then just shuffling across. They don't want those little passes and people to find pockets of space just in behind Erling Haaland and then playing him in as well. So quite happy to get the ball wide, but can they stop crosses coming in?
Well, here are City in a wide position with Ait Nouri about 5 yards in field. Reverse ball down the right, Cherki onto it, dead ball line, blocked off by the on-rushing Hauger, and Jens Petter Hauger does enough there. It was a double deflection, the last touch off Cherki, the two number 10s going head-to-head, former Frankfurt man Hauger, and it's out of play for a goal kick to Bodø Glimt. Bodø Glimt 0, Manchester City 0 on Talksport 2 in the Champions League live with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Whatever it is, they're here for it. And we've had 12 and a half, actually relatively entertaining minutes, and City should be ahead. This man Alain with a header missed from a corner, and he's given the ball away and just inside his own half, and Bodø Glimt go backwards to Bjortuft, the number 4 with the long sleeves, and now Fett back to his goalkeeper. It was a big vote of confidence in Max Alain for Pep Guardiola to bring him into the first team setup, and he's been a regular ever since then, really. No greater vote of confidence than giving a player the Manchester derby either.
Yeah, and look, it's great experience for him in the first team. I thought he was superb against Newcastle. I wouldn't say he was brilliant, but I wouldn't say he was really bad against United. I think there were players playing worse, and certainly you want the senior pros to step up a bit more. So for him to be playing in a game like this in the Champions League as well, difficult conditions, you don't know how many games he's going to be playing. I like Kusanov. He's not particularly great on the ball, but I think he's a really good out-and-out defender, very quick. And Mark Guehi comes in as well. That's going to be interesting. So while he can get the minutes on the pitch, the youngster, Max Alain, he should enjoy himself as much as possible.
It's scary, the amount of depth in this Manchester City team. No Semenyo in the squad tonight, remember. That's because he can't be registered until the knockout stages, and Manchester City are guaranteed at least a playoff place, but they want to finish in the top 8. Lewis, crossfield, right to left. That's the second time he's played that big diagonal ball to find O'Reilly, who waits for the run of Foden on the underlap. Foden nudges it back to O'Reilly in a crossing position here. Reinders takes up possession, through towards Foden, who can't get his feet under control. Cherky couldn't either, and it's gone through to Hakin, the goalkeeper. Pep Guardiola with a wry smile as he watches on, far side of the field for Manchester City tonight. It'll be 10 years at the club by the end of the season. Manchester City's greatest ever manager. Flick on by Herg down the middle, the number 9. Big number 9 for Bodø Glimt, but it's easily retrieved by Elaine, who goes back to Donnarumma, and it is all Manchester City in terms of the possession.
Yeah. I mean, after the first couple of minutes where Bodø Glimt, had a few opportunities to score, not just hit the target, and certainly with inside the box. It's been all City since then, not just in terms of possession. They look very comfortable. They look like they can go wide and then try and cut the ball back. They can look like they can play through Bodø Glimt, where Glimt don't certainly want them to. They're very much in control at the moment, but that's when they need to be careful, certainly on the transition if they give the ball away.
73% possession for Manchester City so far. Forward strides Rodri into opposition territory. Out on his left is Foden. Further wide is Nico O'Reilly. Good pace to this attack. O'Reilly chips in the cross. Haaland trying to get underneath it. Headed away by Gunderson. Jumping is Rodri on the edge of the area. Smuggled away by Blomberg upfield. It's come back to O'Reilly again to deliver high. Looping towards Haaland at the back post. And Gunderson beats him again at the expense of another corner to Manchester City. 0-0.
Yeah, well done, Nico O'Reilly. Got a couple of crosses in there. The first one maybe was a little bit short for Haaland. The second one, you could see, he thought, right, I'm really going to float it to the far post. And you want Erling Haaland to get in there at the far post. And it was the centre-half who said, no, I'm going to win this. And he was still a yard off Haaland.
2 arms up into the air from Foden, who will take the corner, swung in, left-footed, high to the back post, rather ballooned by Foden, kept in by Lewis on the dead ball line. Lewis from the opposite wing, into Cherky on the edge of the penalty area, dink in to the box and overhit. Foden nowhere near it, and out of play for a goal kick to Bodø Glimt. Well, yes, Manchester City should be ahead. Elaine with the free header 4 yards out, but that aside, they're yet to test goalkeeper Nikita Hakin away to the right-hand side.
No, but I'd be very happy with the start if I were Pep Guardiola. Of course you want to be leading it if possible, but these are difficult conditions. It's not an easy place to come. Spurs just about nicked the draw earlier on in the season, but the way after the first few minutes Manchester City are controlling this game, be pretty happy.
Yes, Bodø Glimt were 2-0 up against Spurs, weren't they, before conceding an 89th minute equaliser. Tottenham in action against Dortmund on Talksport at 8 tonight. Massive game for Thomas Frank, who we'll hear from at half-time actually here on Talksport 2, and at 8 o'clock here we'll bring you Arsenal's trip to the San Siro, always one of European football's most recognisable and historic venues. Arsenal away to Inter Milan. The ball is back with Gunderson of Bodø Glimt. Square pass to his own goalkeeper. All in bright orange Hakin, and he'll clatter the ball forward, up and over the halfway line. No great direction on it. Elaine in to win it back for Manchester City. Then a layoff by Rodri to the left, and spinning to angle the ball back is Reinders to the feet of O'Reilly. Now Rodri again. Standing on the halfway line, the captain. Square ball to Foden, out to the left, and O'Reilly again. Lots of possession for Manchester City. Crossfield goes Foden, left to right. Lovely ball, drops onto the right thigh of Aït-Nouri, who brings it down cleverly, but he's been blocked off by Hauge. Hauge tracking back, forcing Aït-Nouri towards the dead ball line. A half tackle coming in from Bjørkholt, and now here come Manchester City with Cherky to deliver the cross, and the fullback Bjørkan is in the way. It's Manchester City's third corner of the game so far.
Yeah, Rodri just asking the referee, was that handball? It wasn't, because he was so close to him that even if it did hit his hand, he wouldn't have been able to move it out of the way. I think he's still asking the question now, but the referee's spot on. We're watching a replay here. I mean, it has hit his arm, but his arm was in front of his chest, so it would have hit his chest. It wasn't even as if his arm was out the way and in an unnatural position.
And no justification for a penalty. VAR did check it, but the check is quickly complete. Another corner for Manchester City. In the 20th minute now, plenty of those dark green shirts lurking in the penalty area and the 6-yard box, which is where Elaine had his free header. Foden again from the right wing, left-footed to the back post, header away. Gunderson is there again. He's won 2 or 3 important aerial balls so far. Manchester City have got a throw on the far side in front of a bunch of quite fanatical Bodø Glimt supporters who are waving huge yellow and black flags. And I think Manchester City have fallen foul of the offside flag. They have. It's a Bodø Glimt free kick midway inside their own half. Pep Guardiola continues to patrol the touchline here, and very honest in his assessment of the Manchester derby at the weekend, as we welcome listeners from Talksport. 20 minutes gone in the Arctic Circle on a plastic pitch. Bodø Glimt 0, Manchester City 0. Max Elaine has gone closest for City in the opening 20 minutes. A free header only 4 yards out, should have scored on his European debut, but somehow managed to nudge it wide. Bodø Glimt are not easy opposition. They held Tottenham to a 2-2 draw in the Champions League earlier on this season, but Scott Minto, it is Manchester City who are dominating so far.
Yeah, and that's the word, dominating for sure. After what could have been a really poor start, where Bodø Glimt had 2 or 3 opportunities inside the box to get a shot off, and for some reason they didn't. Even 2 of their own players got in the way for just 6 yards out. It would have been a simple finish, really. But since then, it has been Manchester City. As you say, Max Elaine has had the best chance, but it hadn't really troubled the keeper too much.
But here come Bodø Glimt on the attack. Blomberg into the penalty area, and he's gone down under the challenge of Kusanov, gets up and crosses to Hogg, and it's in! Bodø Glimt have scored! It's their number 9, Kasper Hogg, at the back post to nod it beyond Donnarumma, and Manchester City, after the Derby Day disappointment of the weekend, are now behind in the Champions League. Would you believe it? Bodø Glimt looking for their first ever victory in the Champions League proper, lead Manchester City by a goal to 0.
Well, just as we're saying that Man City are dominating Bodø Glimt, Bodø Glimt have one of the rare chances going forward to get into the box. It's across to the far post, and Hogg is on his own. There is absolutely no one around him, in a 3-yard radius. It's a free header inside the 6-yard box. Can he now beat Donnarumma? And he heads it down, and as Donnarumma jumps up, it goes through his legs. I mean, that's really poor defending. We saw shocking defending at the weekend. More poor defending here. And boy, are they going to have to score a number of goals to win games at the moment. Look at the pictures of Erling Haaland. He cannot believe what he's just witnessed.
Haaland shakes his head, and Manchester City are behind again. Bodø Glimt 1, Manchester City 0. And commentary continues on Talksport 2, of course, throughout the evening. And now City have got it all on to respond. Out on the left-hand side for them is O'Reilly straight away. Now Phil Foden towards the edge of the box. Looks for Rodri, surrounded by yellow shirts. And in the end, it's hammered upfield by Patrick Berg, away from danger. One back by Hauger after a rather hesitant piece of play by Lane. Blomberg can cross it for Hogg. He's all alone. It's 2! This is unbelievable! He had the freedom of the penalty area, and Bodø Glimt have scored 2 in 2 minutes. Both have come from the number 9, and they cannot believe what they are seeing. The Manchester City players, hands go to heads. They're covering their faces with their shirts, some of them, because the defending there was absolutely atrocious. And Hogg so gleefully makes it 2, but he won't score an easier goal all season. Bodø Glimt 2, Manchester City 0. Pep Guardiola's team have got massive problems here in Norway.
Blimey, they absolutely have. And look, it's Max Alleyne who's made the initial mistake, but there's no one defending for Manchester City. Suddenly it's a 3v2 and then a 2v1, and the ball's quickly played across. Where's Ryan Aït-Nouri? You know, I've seen pictures again of Donnarumma just consoling Max Alleyne, but yes, it's a mistake, but it's a mistake on the halfway line. Where's the what-if mentality? What if he makes a mistake? I've got to come round and tuck in. Aït-Nouri's far too much up the pitch, and in the end, you know what? He knows he's got to take it first time. It's a brilliant finish from Hook, I have to say. But 2 goals in 2 minutes. Boy, Manchester City under pressure now.
2-0 to Bodø Glimt here on Talksport 2. And disbelief all around this very small stadium. Only holds 8,000 or so at the cheers that came up when the ball went in it. There could have been 80,000 here. And Haaland again shaking his head, throwing his arms up into the air in frustration. Bodø Glimt have scored 2 in 2 minutes, both of them for Kasper Hug. And Ryan Aït-Nouri, I don't even know if he might as well not have been on the pitch for either of the 2 goals.
Absolutely. You know, people are going to look certainly at Alleyne for the second goal, but for both goals, the ball's at the far post and the guy is completely free. First of all, he should be there as the right back, and that's where he's playing, right back. Look, he's not a right back, but he is a left back, and he knows where he should be, and he should be able to be tucking round. And the fact that people will look at Max Alleyne, I personally, yeah, it's a mistake, but hold on a minute, where's the cover? Where's the defensive mentality? Where's the thinking that if he gives that ball away or loses it there, I'm going to be in a position to make sure I can cover round? And both times at the far post, Berg's been free.
Foden down the left, crosses, cleared away. Good covering by Berg. One back inside the penalty area then by Shervold, and cleared upfield by Bodø Glimt, only as far as Reinders. Manchester City 2-0 down in the Arctic Circle. And here is Reinders in the box, inside left channel. Can he pull it across? He does. Spilled by the goalkeeper, and it's dropped to the back post at Aït-Nouri, who couldn't get a shot away. Good covering by Bodø Glimt. Rodri's got it now. Right wing area. Gets it back from Aït-Nouri. Rodri into a more central area. Will lay it square. And now Foden with his back to goal. Back to Reinders. And Manchester City have it with O'Reilly. Looking for a response, and in desperate need of a response. Bodø Glimt 2, Manchester City 0. Just 27 minutes into this game. The City having dominated up until the first goal was scored. And defensively nowhere. Foden, 25 yards out. Haaland's little touch. Could fall for Aït-Nouri. Going to easily be cleared away then by Bjørkan in the left-back position, and now Bjørkan is over the halfway line, surging forward as Bodø Glimt look for another goal. And the way Manchester City have defended, you wouldn't bet against it at the moment, Scott.
Do you know what, Joe? At the start of the season, I was asked who I think will win the Premier League, and let's go even further back. Let's go to the Club World Cup, that game against Juventus. They were absolutely superb, and if they could have scored 6 or 7, or if they needed to, they would have done. And I went a little bit early. I said Man City are back. What happened the very next game? Al Hilal, they got knocked out on the transition, still looked very defensively vulnerable. And for that reason, I couldn't really say Man City for the title. And even just the last month, when they had a great December, and it looked like they were catching up on Arsenal, I think, no, do you know what? I'm going to stick with Arsenal. And we've seen why here. And in the last few games, they've been dropping points, they've been giving away silly goals. From a defensive point of view, they're still not good enough at the moment.
Far from it, from a Manchester City perspective. They get a free kick in the right back position here, and the home side's manager, Kjetil Knutsen, who is a Bodø Glimt legend really, led the club to their debut in the group stage of a major European tournament in 2021-22. The Conference League could be leading them to what you'd have to say would probably be the best result in their history if they can beat a former European champion club in the Champions League. They've never got a Champions League win before. Doesn't get any better than that for Bodø Glimt.
No, it really doesn't. You know, I was listening to Talksport earlier this morning, and there was talk about all three English clubs winning tonight. I actually texted Alex Crook and said, how about no English clubs winning tonight?
Inter away at Arsenal. Arsenal away at Inter on Talksport 2 at 8. And at 8 o'clock the same time on Talksport, Tottenham take on Borussia Dortmund. Manchester City 2-0 down in Norway. Less than half an hour played. Bjørkan infield to Høg. Høg has scored both of them. Chips it wide to the right-hand side. City all over the place. They're in again with Sherwold. And Høg! Denied by Donnarumma on the goal line. I think the flag is up anyway. Sherwold across goal. Høg sliding in from a tight angle. Couldn't beat Donnarumma. Manchester City saved by the offside flag.
Yeah, I do think it was offside there. Not initially with the crossfield pass, but when I think it was Fett that was just running in behind. The Man City just looks so vulnerable defensively. They're not following the runners. There's no pressure on the ball. You know, numbers-wise, if Bodø Glimt or Manchester United attack with pace, they can't seem to keep up with them. There's definitely a worry for Pep. Look, you asked me earlier, do I think Pep Guardiola will leave Manchester City at the end of the season? I don't. And almost whatever happens, unless probably he wins the Premier League and the Champions League, but I still feel they're a long way off the team that won 4 consecutive titles, and he won't rest until they get somewhere near that.
A team that won the treble 3 years ago.
Absolutely.
Aït-Nouri will take a throw in the right-back position for Manchester City. Caught cold tonight in freezing conditions in Glimt. Here it is with Rodri. Manchester City 2-0 down. Forward to Reinders in the centre circle. Beaten to it by Bjørkan. I think this could get worse for Manchester City if they're not careful. Kusanov back to Donnarumma, who chips the ball out to the left-back position. There's pressure on O'Reilly from Evjen. O'Reilly back to Alain, whose clearance up to the halfway line barely reaches Haaland, but it has dropped to Foden. Foden's touch is heavy. Hauger gets a foot in. Bodø Glimt to the better team. No doubt about it so far. They have been the better side live on Talksport 2.
Well, they look sharper and they look more dangerous. They look, you know, the team that's more likely to score. I think City are passing the ball pretty well and they're creating kind of half chances. And that we talked about how they've been dominating for 20 minutes, but when it comes to actually looking like who's capable of scoring, it's Bodø Glimt, but only really when they're on the counter-attack. And that should be sorted by now.
Bodø Glimt 2, Manchester City 0 in the Champions League, live on Talksport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Here for it, book now at enterprise.co.uk. Big problems here for Manchester City. Haken, the goalkeeper, has not had a save to make, and of course you could see City coming back from 2-0 down, of course you could, but 3-0?
Yeah. No, and I can see them coming back to 2-2. Can I see them scoring 3 goals? You know, that's the big ask. You mustn't forget that although Bodø Glimt have yet to win a game in the Champions League this season, we also must not forget their last competitive game was 41 days ago. So this is a really good performance they're putting in. These are difficult conditions. It's cold, it's a different type of pitch, different type of bounce. And Bodø Glimt, obviously this is their Champions League final, isn't it? Playing against the likes of Manchester City. And City have played 10 matches since Bodø Glimt last played their last competitive game. So look, they certainly look lethargic and tired at the weekend, but I can see them scoring 2. I don't know if I can see them scoring 3. I can also see them conceding again.
Well, here is Aït-Nouri, arguably culpable for both goals, but then he's a left back playing at right back, so
it's still the same principle though, Joel. You should know. You know, it's one thing for your body position to be a little bit different. It's another thing to, you know, the ball's gone to Max Alain there, and you've got to just sprint back and think, what if he loses the ball here? You think that whether you're a left back or a right back.
A referee stopped the game, and I think it's a free kick to Manchester City for a tackle by Fett on Aït-Nouri, even though Fett has actually come off worse as a result. Sondre Fett, who's scored twice in this season's league phase in the Champions League, trudges back into the penalty area. City take the free kick short. Cherki gets it back from Reinders, rolls the ball wide out to the near side, and Ait Nouri twisting and turning beyond Hauger, delivering an excellent cross to the back post. O'Reilly heads it into the 6-yard box, headed away. Foden on the volley, deflected behind. That'll be a corner to Manchester City, who are 2-0 down.
Better though from City, isn't it? The ball was wide, and instead of just coming back again and trying to find that little pass in, Ait Nouri's shaped across, gone down the outside, put in a really good cross. And you know, when Erling Haaland's on absolute fire, he's like a magnet, isn't it? At the moment, he's nowhere near the ball.
Here comes Cherki's corner, right-footed, hung up high into the penalty area, headed on, Haaland! Couldn't poke it in. Erling Haaland from 2 or 3 yards out, only needed a touch. I don't think he got one.
Well, talk about being a magnet, and he did find a space there. It's 3 yards out. And fair play to Kasper Høeg. He scored 2 goals, and he's kind of put Erling Haaland off. And you're right, he didn't get a touch, but he's literally 3 yards out. He gets that on target. The keeper, Heikin, is beaten. What an opportunity that is.
And it stays out. And of course, familiar reminder, should we need it, of the threat, the ever-present attacking threat of Manchester City. Bodø Glimt 2, Manchester City 0. Vital for the home team, you feel, that they get to half-time without conceding a goal. 10 minutes of the first half left. Rodri tries to angle the ball wide right. There's an urgency about Manchester City again all of a sudden. Out on the right-hand side, the near side is Ait Nouri, teases it back to Kusanov. Midway inside the Bodø Glimt half. Bodø Glimt with everybody in bright yellow behind the ball, defending with diligence at the moment. Ait Nouri in field, all left foot from the right. Gets it back from Tiani Reinders. Ait Nouri to Kusanov again. Kusanov wide to Reinders, and no great pace or shape to this attack from Manchester City. Really, there aren't many runners ahead of Kusanov. He's got it 40 yards out, could be 400 yards out, the way that City are a bit static all of a sudden.
Yeah, I mean, Bodø Glimt again are defending very well. You know, that sort of Christmas tree where they're not allowing the ball to come through into the middle, or down the outside, yes, and then there's 2 players getting close to that player.
Lewis, lovely little flick towards Cherki, but well seen by Fett, who smuggled it away. Then the last touch off Kusanov. It'll be a throw in slightly windy conditions, which Bjørkan will come across to take the left back. They are the 3rd Norwegian team in history, Bodø Glimt, to reach the Champions League proper. So they really are onto something historic, perhaps tonight. Indeed, no Norwegian team has even won a game in the Champions League proper since 2007-2008 in the group stages. Rosenborg beating Benfica, so it's an historic night for Norwegian football in general at the moment. And I say at the moment because we're only in the 37th minute. Still, I think Manchester City fans who've travelled, Scott Minto, will be utterly bemused by the defending for both goals.
Yeah, you know, again, it just shows their frailties that we saw at the weekend, that we, over a whole season, why they're not quite at the level yet of an Arsenal, who look very strong. Even if they're not playing particularly well, they find a way to find a result. You know, they didn't win at the weekend, and yet they still gained a point on everybody else. That's where the City really need to, the points they've dropped recently, where everyone thinks they're going to step up. And I'm sort of saying, look, yes, it's Pep Guardiola still, but it's not the same players. It's still players that are new to the club and getting used to playing in the Premier League and playing for Manchester City, playing for Pep Guardiola, living in Manchester. Probably next season that we're going to see them sort of start to peak, and that's why I don't think Pep will go just yet.
Of course, City's placed in the top 8 under threat as it stands. Good work by Shervold for Bodø Glimt, much smaller than O'Reilly, but he gets across the Manchester City man and will roll it back to goalkeeper Heikin. Heikin belts the ball long, good flick by Høeg, down the middle, Hauger is clear, Hauger to make it 3, can he spin and turn, back to Høeg, who steers it wide, on a hat-trick, and he probably should have had it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the better chance was for Hauger, wasn't it? He did really well in the first place. You know, between Kusanov and Ait Nouri, It's poor defending from both of them. And the ball is laid back to Hug because Hauge didn't feel he could get the shot off. And Hug's just missed the target. But again, another example of defensively how frail Manchester City are.
Well, it feels very makeshift from Manchester City tonight, and the experiment of playing Aït-Nouri as a right back has not worked at all. Nor, I think, is the decision to pair Kusanov and Elaine again from the start, just as they did at Old Trafford.
Yeah, obviously Nathan Aké's on the bench. I mean, he has to be managed to a certain point as well. And we talked about the great experience that it is for Max Elaine, but it's not been a great experience, hasn't it, at Old Trafford and now here so far. And he'll grow from it. There's no doubt there's a class player there. The City need to find a way to win this game, and yeah, they are capable of scoring 2 goals, but they're also capable of conceding more than this.
Just as well for Manchester City, isn't it, that Mark Guéhi is very soon to be introduced.
Big signing, big signing. Player I really like.
Come at just the right time. Manchester City 2-0 down, 5 minutes of the second half, their first half rather to go. On Talksport 2, 5 minutes of the first half remaining. At 8 o'clock we'll bring you Inter against Arsenal. Arsenal, who have a 100% record in this season's league phase. Even if they aren't officially through to the knockouts automatically just yet. Manchester City's hopes of going through automatically are going to take a big hit as it stands. Just on the right edge of the centre circle is Kusanov. Angle ball wide to Aït-Nouri. Aït-Nouri scampers infield, but gets no change out of Hauge or Bjørkan. Now on halfway, it's tripped crossfield by Elaine to Aït-Nouri again. Back to the halfway line, and Kusanov once more. You're listening to Talksport 2 with Champions League action tonight. Spurs against Dortmund over on Talksport. Long ball by Rodri up the inside left. Reinders is after it. Reinders crosses, and it's blocked by his opposite number, Bjørtuft of Bodø Glimt, and another corner to Manchester City.
Well, he's very good at that, isn't he? Making those runs in behind in the channels.
Corner taken short. Foden to Rodri to float it across. Looping header. Back post Kusanov across towards Haaland, and he didn't get the touch, but it was behind him. Kusanov could easily have gone for goal, even though the angle was slightly against it. Missed chance. Foden 25 yards out. Square to Cherki. Cherki now keeps possession, and Manchester City find themselves faced up by the Bodø Glimt yellow wall again.
Joe, why is he not shot there, Kusanov? I know he's a centre half, and I know the angle was a little bit tight, but it's basically a 1-on-1 from the corner. Got to shoot there and make the keeper make a save.
Haaland's knocked down for Manchester City, swept away by Evjen, only as far as Aït-Nouri, inside right channel, about 25 yards out, 42nd minute, 2-0 Bodø Glimt. Cherki on the right, jinking away, whipping it in left-footed, header away at the near post by Gundersen over the top of his diving goalkeeper, Superman style there, Hakin, and behind for another corner to Manchester City. It's been an ugly half of football for Manchester City, because they've conceded 2 poor goals and missed 3 big chances.
Yeah, I mean, even on that one, just half a yard either side of the keeper, or certainly to the right of the keeper. He hasn't got a chance because he's so close to him. Big few minutes this.
Cherki's in swinging corner, right-footed, O'Reilly going up, header away by Gundersen, could drop on the edge of the penalty area for Rodri, it does in the end for Aït-Nouri. Now Foden, 20 yards out, Foden onto the left foot, can he get the shot away? Phil Foden, he does. Good block though by Berg, the captain, in the way. Berg, who is a bit of a legend at Bodø Glimt. Now Elaine for Manchester City, chipping it out wide. There is pressure on the home team now. In by Aït-Nouri, curling left-footed and gathered easily by the goalkeeper. One bounce and into his chest. 2 minutes plus added time to go in the first half. Bodø Glimt 2, Manchester City 0. These are the thoughts of Scott Minter.
Yeah, and I say a big couple of minutes. I mean, look, if it's 2-0 at half-time, City can still come back and at least get a draw here. But psychologically, the blow it would be if they were to score just before half-time, where they've defended so poorly, and yet it's almost like they'll be going in thinking, right, we've got that goal, we're only 1 behind. If we score early in the second half, we can go on and win this. Bodø Glimt would be thinking, I can't believe it, we've played to our maximum, we've been clinical, we're only 1 goal in front. So, as I say, they're still capable of getting something out of this game, but if they can get it before half-time, the whole psychology of that half-time changes.
Here is Cherky for Manchester City through the legs of one defender, but then very quickly Bjørkan is across to intercept and win it back. Bodø Glimt tried to find the goal scorer, the double goal scorer Høeg, but it's won back by Kusanov, and Manchester City have it again. It's not as though they've underestimated their opponents, but City have been sloppy in both boxes.
Yeah, and just the way they play as well, you almost have to be error-free. And obviously we know the youngster Max Elaine made that mistake because, you know, Nico O'Reilly and Ryan Aït-Nouri are playing like wing-backs, not full-backs. Suddenly, if one of the two centre-halves make a mistake, then Bodø Glimt can pounce and they outnumber what's really only one Manchester City defender.
8,000 home fans jumping up and down, waving yellow and black flags and scarves high into the air. 25 seconds of normal time at the end of the first half to go. Bodø Glimt 2-0 up on Manchester City on Talksport 2. It's with Reinders, midway into opposition territory. Good reverse ball to Cherky. O'Reilly's cross. Haaland has put it wide. He shakes his head again. It's just not his night so far, nor that of Manchester City. Erling Haaland from 7 yards out. He surely had to score. And he's whipped it left-footed wide of the near post.
Oh, what an opportunity for arguably the greatest striker on the planet. Pep Guardiola can't believe it. They've worked the opportunity to their number one finisher. And it's not even as if he's past the near post and he's somehow got to try and flick it. I mean, yes, it's a tight angle, but still, if he hammers that in at the near post there, keeper's got no chance. And what does he do? He puts it the other side of the post. Talked about psychologically the blow it would be for Manchester City and against Bodø Glimt to make it 2-1 at half-time. What an opportunity that was.
Well, we've only got 10 seconds of the single added minute remaining here on Talksport 2 at the end of the first half, and the home fans are jubilant again. Manchester City really should have scored at least once, but they're 2-0 down as the half-time whistle goes, and Bodø Glimt are 45 minutes away from one of the great results in the history of Norwegian football on the continent. 2 goals for Kasper Høeg, 2 in the space of 2 minutes, both the product of dreadful Manchester City defending, and at the other end, City have spurned every big chance that has come their way. Elaine, Kusanov and twice Erling Haaland, all of them really should have ended up in the back of the net. They didn't, and Manchester City have been punished for their profligacy and sloppy defending. Bodø Glimt 2, Manchester City 0 at half-time. Scott Minto, wow.
Yeah, and Pep Guardiola will be going in now thinking, how did that happen? I mean, look, again, you know what I think about Pep Guardiola? I think he's one of the greatest, if not, I'll argue, the greatest manager ever, but that is very subjective. But the way he plays, or the way he's playing tonight for sure, with the 2 fullbacks playing like wing-backs, I mean, I give Ryan Aït-Nouri stick for not reading the situation on both the goals, or certainly Høeg being free at the far post on both occasions. Maybe he's being asked when they've got the ball to be pushed further up, and it's impossible to get further back. We'll have to look again to see how much he tried to sprint back, but look, defensively they were really 2 poor goals. Attacking wise, as you say, they've missed 3, possibly 4 good chances to score. And you would think if they play like that in the second half, certainly attacking wise, they can get the 2 goals, but my worry is they can concede again on the break. You know, nothing's changed almost from last season in terms of how vulnerable they are. They do look a little bit better than last season, obviously the results show that. But this is a perfect example of, you know, if they don't score 2, 3, 4 goals, then they will concede sloppy ones. And it's why, you know, I haven't at any point this season say that Manchester City will win the Premier League this season.
OK, much more from the former Chelsea and Benfica defender Scott Minto to come at half-time. We'll look ahead to our second live commentary of the night. That's Inter Milan against Arsenal. And you'll hear from Thomas Frank ahead of Spurs against Dortmund, live over on Talksport. Here on 2 at half-time, the shock result is on. Bodø Glimt 2, Manchester City 0.
Champions League live on Talksport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Whatever it is, we're here for it.
Tonight's Euro Millions jackpot is £75 million.
It'll have you dancing like nobody's watching. Yeah, baby. Just make sure nobody is watching. Get in tonight's Euro Millions draw. Play on app.
Estimated jackpot. Account terms, rules and procedures apply. Players must be 18 or over.
The moment they walk down the aisle, you want to see it all and feel ready. Our advanced eye test checks both your eyesight and eye health, so you feel confident in life's important moments. It includes a UV protection and dry eye assessment, plus an OCT scan for early detection of conditions like glaucoma. Book your advanced eye test today. Vision Express. Step out with confidence. T&Cs apply. Upgrade your free NHS PRSI medical card eye test for a nominal fee.
The secret is out. The Housemaid is a UK box office smash hit.
Guilty as charged.
Critics are calling it outrageously enjoyable and wickedly entertaining.
It's a crazy story.
Guess we're gonna find out.
Audiences everywhere are still in shock.
What do you know about this family?
An absolute roller coaster.
You lied about everything.
Definitely one to watch.
I don't know what's been going on with her lately.
Let me know on it. The Housemaid, only in cinemas now.
New year means a new round of speculation, signings and spending sprees. As the 2026 trading season kicks off, stay ahead with all the deals for the central transfer window updates on Talksport.
And they have been made to pay.
Plus, get the inside track on everything from the club moves worth knowing to where the mega money's going in one unbeatable transfer news roundup with White and Jordan every morning from 10.
You can't get closer than
Transfer window updates on Talksport with Intuit QuickBooks. Tackle your self-assessment with Intuit QuickBooks. Search QuickBooks to find out more.
Talksport 2. Traffic and travel.
The M1 in South Yorkshire is blocked southbound from junction 33 to 32, heading away from Sheffield towards the M18 and the scene of an accident. Meanwhile, there are long queues heading out of Essex into Kent on the clockwise M25. The exit-slip is partly blocked at the A13, just north of the QE2 bridge following a collision. The M11 is blocked heading out of London just south of the M25 following an accident heading out of England into Wales. The westbound M48 partly blocked just before the Severn Bridge by a collision. I'm Johnny Vatner.
Hi, I'm Jeff Stelling. Make sure you wise up for a wonderful Wednesday night of live Champions League football on Talksport and Talksport 2.
What is going on?
Marseille go head-to-head with Liverpool, live on Talksport, with Newcastle versus PSV, live on Talksport 2. Both games kick off at 8.
He's done it again.
Then have your say on the Sports Bar from 10.
What a bit of skill.
It's a weighty Wednesday night of live Champions League football on Talksport and Talksport 2.
Sanctify your Sunday with a South Coast sermon of live football on Talksport 2. Portsmouth meets Southampton in the Championship. Parish doors open at 11:45 with the full football service commencing at 12 p.m. sharp. Come together for a super Sunday sermon of live Championship football on Talksport 2.
This Saturday, leave behind the dank, rank monotony of the weekday. The spirit of Saturday is upon us. Rise up.
It's big ticket live Premier League football you can't afford to miss.
Saturday is game day.
What a strike!
One spectacular pitch performance you can't hear anywhere else.
Exclusive full match commentary of West Ham versus Sunderland.
Game day exclusive.
This Saturday on Talksport.
Kick-off. King of football commentary. Kick-off live on Talksport 2.
Manchester City desperate to bounce back from Derby Day defeat and solidify their place in the Champions League top 8. Can they do that here in the Arctic Circle? Delivered in by Foden, left-footed in, swinging! Oh, what a miss! Was a lane!
It's a wonderful ball in from Foden. So no one's actually challenging him. It's a free header. But I'd be very happy with the start if I were Pep Guardiola. Of course you want to be leading it if possible, but these are difficult conditions.
But here come Bodø Glimt on the attack. Blomberg into the penalty area, and he's gone down under the challenge of Kusanov, gets up and crosses to Hogg, and it's in! Bodø Glimt have scored!
More poor defending here. And looking at pictures of Erling Haaland, he cannot believe what he's just witnessed.
One back by Hauger after a rather hesitant piece of play by Lane. Blomberg can cross it for Hurd. He's all alone. It's 2! This is unbelievable! The defending there was absolutely atrocious. Guardiola's team have got massive problems here in Norway.
Blimey, they absolutely have.
Yes, 2-0 to Bodø Glimt. Second half on the way here on Talksport 2 as Manchester City look to produce a fight back. A massive game coming up, massive second half for Manchester City. It is Bodø Glimt 2, Manchester City 0. We've got a huge game coming up on Talksport at 8. Spurs against Borussia Dortmund. You'll hear from Thomas Frank shortly, but the live football on Talksport 2 continues straight after we are done here, as we'll be heading from the Arctic Circle to the San Siro for more Champions League action. Arsenal just a point away from securing a top 8 finish in the group stage phase of the competition as they take their unbeaten record to the test against an Inter Milan side who are within the top 6. It should be a cracker, and we can look ahead now with the former England defender Alvin Martin, who's alongside your commentator for tonight, Adam Bridge.
Yeah, good evening, Joe. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Ahead of what promises to be an absolute belter tonight in the San Siro. Arsenal with that perfect record, 6 played, 6 victories. Inter won their first 4 before suffering defeats at the hands of Atletico Madrid and Liverpool in their last 2 games. So probably you'd argue maybe more for Inter to play for than an Arsenal side who just need a point tonight to secure a top 8 finish. They are already in the round of 16 playoff if everything else did go belly up in their final 2 games, beginning tonight, of course, in the San Siro. Alvin Martin alongside me. And that's the question really, Alvin, about where Arsenal are at, isn't it? Because obviously the 0-0 draw against Forest on Saturday turned out to be a really good point in terms of the Premier League because of the other side. And they've got Manchester United coming up this weekend. How is Mikel Arteta going to play it tonight, do you think?
Well, I don't think he's going to make lots of changes, Adam. I think that would really surprise me. But look, what he has got is a squad at his disposal with strengths. I can't see any weaknesses. It's a team that's fighting on 4 fronts now, so you have to respect that as well in terms of your team selection. Take advice from the medical staff in terms of who needs resting. There might be some red flags that are starting to get flagged up from that point of view. But overall, what he will be is absolutely delighted with the way things have gone up to now. I think what they are is a team that know how to win a tight game. They know what it takes to get over the line in whatever game. In whatever situation they're faced with, and that intelligence, that resilience is something they haven't always had, but they have it now.
Everyone says not only are they the best team in England right now, but they're the best team in Europe. Do you agree with that?
Well, they're certainly right to talk about Arsenal in that frame. But look, it's all about proving people. Half a season has gone. The second half is the one that really matters. They've set up the second half of the season very nicely indeed, but they've got to follow it through. And it will be maybe after they've had a defeat somewhere along the line, how are they going to react? That's where the real tests will come. And when people start doubting them, at the moment they believe in each other, they believe in the manager, they've got a fan base that are totally behind them, so everything's smooth. And they do set unbelievable standards. You can see what's happened even over the last sort of couple of weeks with Declan Rice having a go at people, really demanding, Arteta demanding. They've got that mentality that you do think is going to carry all the way through, and it'd be a foolish man to back against them, Adam.
Yeah, Inter Milan are in good form as well, unbeaten in Serie A since the derby loss to AC Milan. That was back in November. They're very tight, they don't concede many goals. It promises to be a real cracker in the Champions League group phase tonight. Of course, it's Inter, it's Arsenal, it's an 8 o'clock kickoff, and we'll start the build-up for that at around about 7:45 tonight.
Thanks, Adam. Looking forward to it. Adam Bridge and former England defender Alvin Martin will be on commentary duty for us here on Talksport 2 at 8, and at the very same time live over on Talksport we will see Tottenham welcome Borussia Dortmund. It's a massive game which could have a real impact on Thomas Frank's future at Spurs. No wins in their last 5 in all competitions. The fans are voicing their frustrations louder than ever. This was Frank's response when asked if he can get them back on side.
as long as we win football matches and make sure we do that, win enough of them, then I'm going to say everyone will support us. And I think it's not about me. It's about supporting Xavi, supporting the team, supporting the players. And you can say we're playing a game tomorrow against a very good German side, and we are, I'm going to say, a little bit limited with the players available for the game. So that's why we need everyone to support us. And we need everyone to support us from minute one. All of us, especially the team, especially the players, especially if it's not going too well, need supporters. Because if we do get that support, everything can happen, and magic can happen. And we have a good opportunity tomorrow, and we go all in for it.
All in, says Thomas Frank. Scott Minto, is that going to be enough ultimately to keep him in a job? Do you see any way back for Thomas Frank?
Do you know what? I like Thomas Frank, and I really admired the job that he did at Brentford, and I worked on the Championship for a few years and saw how he evolved the club and the team and went into the Premier League and made it very difficult to beat, went more set pieces and long throws and 3 at the back or 5 at the back rather than they were dominating games in the Championship. So I thought it was almost a natural evolvement for him to go to a bigger club with better players, and then he'd take that club further. And as much as I want him to do well, I'm trying to look both from an attacking but also a defensive point of view about where are the patterns of play, where is the style, where's the system, where's the obvious plan A and plan B, and I'm just not seeing it. And I really do worry for them tonight with the amount of injuries they've got out. Not only is it a sort of patched up, or will it be a patched up 11, but the bench won't be any options for him there. So yeah, I hope he gets I hope they get the first goal, Spurs.
Well, it's Spurs against Dortmund tonight over on Talksport at 8. Inter against Arsenal on 2. Here on 2 right now. The two teams are back out at the Aspmyra Stadium in Norway. Bodø Glimt 2, Manchester City 0. The Bodø Glimt players 45 minutes away from history here as they look for their first ever Champions League proper victory. And I don't think there are any changes for them at half-time. That's no surprise. Can't see any news yet of Manchester City changes either, Scott. City are ready to go, and I don't think there are any alterations. Is that a surprise to you?
Not necessarily. I think Pep is generally, instinctively, a manager who doesn't really want to make too many substitutions at all, and certainly not at half-time. And when he would have told the players what he'd have expected them, he might make a few tactical tweaks as well. But he's certainly got the likes of Doku on the bench and Mamouche. If he wants to change things at the back, Nathan Ake obviously can come on with the experience that he's got. No, I'm not surprised at this moment in time he hasn't made any substitutions, but can't afford to make any more mistakes.
The second half begins. Manchester City 2-0 down, all in dark green with light green trim, playing from right to left in the first half. Towards the end, that houses the 400 or so travelling fans, and Bodø Glimt all in bright yellow, playing from left to right. It's Manchester City on the attack straight away. I remind you of the 2 sets of subs in just a moment. The ball is with Kusanov now on the halfway line. As far as the starting 11s are concerned, Donnarumma is the Manchester City goalkeeper, a Nouri at right back, Kusanov and Elaine the 2 in the middle. Elaine on the ball now inside his own half. O'Reilly is the left back, Rodri and Lewis holding, with Cherki, Reinders and Foden in support of Haaland up front. O'Reilly out on the near side touchline for Manchester City on this artificial surface. I don't think the plastic pitch has had any impact on the game so far. Manchester City have conceded 2 desperately poor goals, and they've missed 4 huge chances at the other end, Scott Minter.
Yeah, they certainly have. I don't think you can blame them. It's cold, but it's not absolutely Baltic. It's not Arctic Circle how we know it can be. The pitch, these artificial pitches now, we've already talked about, a million miles away from the Loftus Road and Kenilworth Road that I played on back in the day. So they're not excuses. They're not excuses. The mistakes that were made are not because of conditions. And they've got to finish better as well.
Headed away by Bjørkan in the right back position for Bodø Glimt. They nearly smuggle it through to Høg, the front man, who's on a hat-trick. One back by Manchester City now, though. An early City goal in the second half will really get them back into the match. Manchester City with Ait Nouri down the right. All left foot, Ait Nouri. Has to roll it back to Rodri. Steers it infield to Rico Lewis. 25, 30 yards out. A lane forward to Reinders. Out to the left where O'Reilly's rating. Reinders again. I'll give you the Bodø Glimt team in just a moment, but at the moment they're a yellow wall of players in front of Manchester City at this tiny ground with the floodlights on. Back it goes to Rodri again. Rodri square to Lewis, surges forward, finds Cherki, little flick towards Haaland, smuggled away by Bjørkan. Another important touch from him. Surely Bodø Glimt can't think they can get through the whole of the second half, defending as deep as they are there. And two backs of five effectively in front of the edge of the 18-yard box. Tiani Reinders into the area, right-footed shot, straight down the throat of the goalkeeper, who manages to hold on to it. So it's Haken in goal for Bodø Glimt. Sjøvold, Bjørtoft, Gundersen and Bjørkan, Evjen, Bergen, Fett, Blomberg, Høg and Hauge are the three up front, and Høg has scored both goals for Bodø Glimt. Manchester City set for just a second defeat so far in the league phase, and it'll really hurt their hopes of finishing in the top 8. In fact, a defeat could prove critical to those hopes because there are so many teams congested behind them. Even if you look down to Barcelona in 15th, Scott, they're not that far away.
No, they're not. We said about how they're in a good position in terms of being fourth, but how close teams are just behind them. And yeah, one bad match day, and suddenly it puts pressure on them. And look, I mean, you'd expect them to beat Galatasaray at home, but you know, you'd expect them to have got something out of this game, and they still might.
But Blomberg through the middle for Bodø Glimt. Wide left is Hauge. Hauge's early cross into the area. Evjen onto it! Turned away by Donnarumma. Berg heads it square. Hauge tried to reach it. It's going to be cleared away by Ryan Cherki. Manchester City all at sea. It could and probably should be 3-0 to Bodø Glimt.
Yeah, again at the far post, Nico O'Reilly, you know, he's not playing wing back, it's full back, unless he's been told by, well, the two fullbacks have been told by Pep Guardiola that I want you pushed right on, and actually I'll understand that defensively you might not be able to get back quick enough. But he didn't look like he was sprinting. For the two goals, and there's people three at the far post.
Cherki, right corner of the area, looks for Rico Lewis, weaving feet into the box. Lewis no way beyond. Bjørkan again, he's been excellent, the left back so far. Every time Bodø Glimt come forward, they look likely to score, and you have to wonder how long Pep Guardiola is going to leave it. You can see him and Kolo Touré issuing instructions from the far side touchline in a big coat and a scarf. Pep Guardiola, how long is he going to leave it before making changes here? Because Manchester City's situation in this game is becoming critical. Kusanov gets in front of Bjørkan, no foul. I think good refereeing. Manchester City continue in possession. 2-0 down City, 5.5 minutes into the second half. The City bench: Trafford, Bettinelli, Doku, Ake, Marmouche, back from AFCON, and youngsters Gray and Fooney, Noble, Mukasa and Samba. So Marmouche and Doku are the obvious ones in this situation.
So a bit like at the weekend, two goalkeepers,
yep,
a bunch of teenagers, and just a couple
and a
of
handful
players.
Of senior players.
Yeah, you know, not even a handful. As I say, I mentioned earlier, Doku and Marmouche certainly going forward. Although they haven't scored yet, going forward, I don't think there's been the problem. It's defensively.
Hauge over the halfway line for Bodø Glimt, surging up down that far side touchline. He's tracked all the way by Rodri. Inter against Arsenal coming up on Talksport 2. On Talksport, it's Spurs against Dortmund tonight, and actually Manchester City will find out their FA Cup fourth round opponents tonight, because Salford and Swindon finally meet in that third round tie. That's this evening. Here is an opportunity for Bjørkan to knock it up the middle, and Høg is clear, and Evjen! It's 3, but The flag has gone up, and it won't count. That would have been the goal to win the game for Bodø Glimt.
Yeah, and look, so we know City play with a high line. I don't really think that they're necessarily playing offside there. Nico O'Reilly maybe, but Max Elaine is not knowing what's behind him. It doesn't look like there's any communication between left back and centre back. And it's a bit more by luck than design. But it does look like he's going to be offside. He is offside. We're just waiting for it to be given.
VAR's checking. He was off down the touchline, wasn't he, the head coach, Knudsen?
He was.
And then he saw the flag go. I think there's two offsides, Scott. I think the first offside, as you say, against Herg, and then he actually taps it forward to Evian, doesn't he?
Evian's definitely offside.
So it's only 2-0. Manchester City, though, you have to say, because they could easily have held their position there, the two front men for Bodø Glimt, they're opened up with embarrassing ease, Manchester City.
Yeah, and look, what I would say is just because the ball's been put in the back of the net and the goal's been offside, that doesn't mean that it got lucky if they played offside, but there were goals offside at the weekend as well. And again, I don't necessarily think they're all in sync and all in line and communicating to each other, and therefore it was a definite offside. It's almost like a high line, and the attacker's gone a little bit early. So it's not great defensive play in the way of the old, say, George Graham sides. But getting away with it at the moment for sure. They need a goal to change everything here.
Foden in the near side left wing position, hoping to try and provide it. Rolls it back, left-footed to O'Reilly. Socks rolled down to his ankles. Now Rodri forward to Aït-Nouri in a very congested area. Not sure what Aït-Nouri has been doing in this game. Now he's hanging about in an inverted role. And out on the right-hand side is Cherki at the moment. Reinders looking for Foden meanwhile. Foden on the ball. Foden gives it away. Straight to the fullback, Shervolt. And Shervolt finds Evian. Out in the right back position for Bodø Glimt. Early ball threaded right along the touchline, but it's gone out of play for a throw to Manchester City, who are 2-0 down, nearly 10 minutes into the second half on Talksport 2. This is Champions League Live with Enterprise Rent-A-Car, whatever it is, they're here for it. Kusanov again. I mean, City always look like they can score, but they look like they could concede again as well, Scott.
Exactly, it's what we're saying in the first half.
Reinders carrying it forward, up to the edge of the D, and it's poked away in behind by Berg. That's got to be a corner. It is a corner. Berg protests, but that's certainly come off the captain last. Corner to Manchester City in front of the 400 travelling fans.
Yeah, they do look dangerous going forward, but they've not really tested goalkeeper Hakin enough. And yet, as we say, defensively, they look like they can easily concede another two.
Corner then to Manchester City. Lots of England flags and Manchester City flags away to the left. Whipped in high by Cherki to the back post. Header away by Gunderson, and he was caught. Free kick to Bodø Glimt. More than enough time and enough quality in this Manchester City side, Scott, but when it's not your night, it's not your night, and they have already missed a number of big chances.
Yeah, you can't think about that and have that sort of mindset early on in the second half. But I'm sure the fans will be thinking it, but as a player, you need to be thinking we need to come at these, and if we just get that next goal, then suddenly everything changes. We talked about how Pep Guardiola perhaps instinctively doesn't always want to make substitutions, but the likes of Jeremy Doku possibly coming on, and I don't know how physically Marmoush is. And certainly I'd look at Doku to maybe try and change something.
A travel back from AFCON, of course, Omar Marmoush. This would be his first involvement for Manchester City since that tournament. Berg for Bodø Glimt, all in bright yellow from left to right. Bodø Glimt looking to become the first Norwegian side since 2007-2008 and Rosenborg to win a match in the Champions League proper. Hakin, the goalkeeper, has it. He's not had to make a save tonight, Hakin. Clears upfield, header forward by Elaine. It's half brought down by Rodri, smuggled away by Berg. It comes back to Aït-Nouri, again in the central area. Shuffles it left to O'Reilly. Forward ball, lovely touch by Lewis into the path of Reinders, who hits the side netting. Lovely glancing touch, silky that from Rico Lewis, just caressed it into the path of Reinders, who on his weaker left side couldn't hit the target.
Yeah, but we've seen him score with his left foot, haven't we? So he is capable of doing it, and that's really good play. Even though it hasn't come a goal off the back of it, that's what Manchester City want to do. Play those balls in early, not allow Bodø Glimt to get set in their formation. 1-2 touch play, and then there's a chance. Next time, can you get it on target?
And Bodø Glimt are on the break. Fett has worked it wide left to the far side, and Hauge. 3 in the middle of the area. Hauge beyond 2. Hauge shoots right footed. What a goal! What a moment! Hauge has scored a third! And Bodø Glimt lead Manchester City by 3-0 on a history-making night for the team from Norway. It's a disastrous night for City and Pep Guardiola, but Hauge has scored one of the goals of the league phase. Make no mistake about that. He scampered beyond 3-4 Manchester City players and planted the ball right-footed into the top corner. What a magnificent goal, and what a nightmare in the Arctic Circle for Manchester City. Bodø Glimt 3, Manchester City 0. Take a bow, Hauge, take a bow.
Look, let's talk about the positives first. That is a truly wonderful goal. Donnarumma is one of the best keepers in the world, and he is nowhere near that. He's not even trying to dive. It's absolute top corner, and a great bit of skill and run, cutting inside onto his right foot. Okay, now the negatives, and it's got to be about Rodri. He's given the ball away, his pass was blocked, and as he comes across, Hauge just comes inside him far too easy. There's no protection there. Someone, of course, has got to get tighter, but that is a wonderful strike. But again, not quite as poor defensively as the first 2 goals, but still, you've got the ball in midfield, 5 seconds later, it's goal and you're 3-0 down. Just not good enough defensively.
And Haaland's left shaking his head again.
Well, there's us talking about he's going to become the first Norwegian to score in Norway. And I'll tell you what, the Norwegians are enjoying this for sure.
Rico Lewis with the cross. Haaland stretches, misses it. Foden hits it left-footed, deflected away. Comes towards O'Reilly. One back by O'Reilly. On the edge of the D. Lovely footwork by O'Reilly to tee up Cherky. Into the net. Manchester City have got one back. Ryan Cherky from 25 yards. Delightful footwork from Nico O'Reilly in the build-up. And finally, the goalkeeper is beaten. Bodø Glimt 3, Manchester City 1. And is this the start of the comeback?
Right, well, that's what they need to be thinking. The first time they've really got in behind Bodø Glimt, whipped the ball across. Foden's had a shot, it's deflecting out. They've been giving the ball away. And as you say, neat footwork from Nico O'Reilly. And the ball falls for Ryan Cherky on his right foot. There's a little bit of a deflection, but keeper's got no chance whatsoever. Have a shot, get it on target. You never know what can happen. And look, for me, Joe, I love Phil Foden. I think he's a wonderful player, I really do. But get Jeremy Doku on. Foden's not doing anything here. Get Doku on. Be dangerous, be direct. And again, we talked about that 2-0, get the next goal. Now it's back to 3-1 really quickly, which is really important. Get that next goal. And I think Doku on the pitch, you'd have a better chance than Foden right now.
Yellow card for Rodri. Foul on Evian, but the cat is among the pigeons here now at Bodø Glimt's Aspmyra Stadium. Manchester City striking back within 2 minutes of Hauge's third for Bodø Glimt. Cherky makes it 3-1.
Yeah, really important to score very quickly after going 3-0 down. Still looking so...
Oh, Rodri, is he in trouble here? He's brought down the onrushing Evian and he's off. Rodri is sent off. And the captain has endured a personal nightmare there. A second yellow card just moments after his first, hauling down Blom Blomberg, and the referee had no option but to show Rodri a second yellow card, and 2 yellows make red. Pep Guardiola protests, but the skipper is sent off, and Manchester City are 3-1 down, and they will have to play the remainder of this game, 28 minutes plus stoppage time, with 10 men. It's a gift for Bodø Glimt, just as Manchester City looked like they were getting back into the game. And here come Bodø Glimt with Evjen. Out to the right, and Blomberg. And that's a good cross into the area, and nearly missed by Kusanov. This is a mess, this performance from Manchester City. An absolute mess, Scott Minter.
Joe, what is Rodri doing? You know, he's a Ballon d'Or winner, and we know the classy player that he is. You know, at his best, he would protect his defence, he'd start attacks, and then he even became a goal scorer as well, as we all well know in the Champions League final. But he's just off it physically at the moment. You can see it. He gave the ball away, or his pass was closed down, and then the attacker went past him for short.
Here's a chance for 4. Evjen teeing up. Hauger! He's hit the bar! He nearly did it again. Now it's Blomberg into the area. Blomberg from the angle, little back heel, it comes off a lane. Manchester City are being run ragged by Bodø Glimt. And there are still 27 minutes for the 10 men of Manchester City to endure here.
Can't even finish what I'm saying. They just give the ball away, and they still look so vulnerable. I mean, Hauger, what a strike that would have been as well. Again, Donnarumma beaten and hit the crossbar.
Well, you just wait, because here comes the corner from the captain, Patrick Berg, right-footed and headed away at the near post by Ait Nouri. Surely Manchester City can't come back from this. Evjen to the edge of the area, running across the edge of the 18-yard box, and now Bjørkan has knocked it wide right to Hauger. Back to the middle of midfield, and Shervold has shepherded the ball high out to the left. It's with Hauger now, and Berg a long way from goal. Berg with a little dink over the top, and they're in again here. It's a cross for 4! Hauger's tapped it in, but the offside flag is up. They've had 2 goals disallowed here, Bodø Glimt.
Well, Man U had 3 goals disallowed, and Bodø Glimt at this moment in time have had 2. VAR obviously going to look at it, and yes, there's a little ball over the top, and you can see it's not Berg that's offside.
Bjørkan. They've won it back again. Bodø Glimt. Manchester City can't keep hold of it. Bodø Glimt 3, Manchester City 1. A stunned City here, with Rodri having been sent off, so Manchester City down to 10 men. This could get very embarrassing for Manchester City. Surging forward down the left is Berg. Berg now, left corner of the area, tackled by Ait Nouri. Well, is there time for more? There is time for much more from Bodø Glimt's perspective. It's unbelievable to see how poor Manchester City look at the back. Omar Marmoush about to come on.
I wonder if Pep's saying, just sneak on the pitch and see if anyone notices. Just try and finish before City give the ball away again and Bodø Glimt have another chance. It's just, honestly, Rodri, just such an experienced pro. As I say, sort of at fault with the 3rd goal. First yellow card, second yellow card, really quickly. When you're on a yellow card, what are you doing? Pulling him back, pulling him down. It's a definite second yellow. He's got no arguments whatsoever, and you know that's a player, a classy player, a Ballon d'Or winner, who's just miles off it physically at the moment.
Heading towards the final quarter of the game, Bodø Glimt 3, the 10 men of Manchester City 1. Inter Milan against Arsenal to come later on Talksport 2 with Adam Bridge and the former England defender Alvin Martin. Spurs Dortmund at 8 over on Talksport, but maybe even that can't match the drama of what we've seen here. Many would have expected a routine victory for Manchester City, but it's going to end in an ignominious defeat the way the game is going.
As I say, I was listening to Wyatt and Jordan and sent Crookie a little text. Don't know about those odds. To be fair to him, he said the same thing as well on air. It's always going to be a difficult game, and Man City needed to put in their performance that they did against Newcastle, not the one against United.
Lewis on the halfway line, square to O'Reilly. O'Reilly shuffles the ball forward to Cherki, still waiting to get Marmouche on Manchester City. It'll be his first appearance for the club since mid-December. Now O'Reilly once more to Cherki again. Too many Manchester City players off the boil tonight. Long ball by Cherki down the middle. Reinders inside left. He's held it up ahead of Shervold. Plays it backwards now to the onrushing Cherki, similar distance to which he scored from. Maybe could have tried the shot. It was blocked. The pass through the middle towards Haaland. Cherki again. Yellow wall in front of him. The 10 men of Manchester City now. 3-1 down, quarter of the game left. Cherki out on the inside right, nudges it infield to Foden, back to Ryan Cherki, comes back to Foden on the left foot, and the low shot doesn't really seriously test the goalkeeper, Scott Minter.
No, but better from City and better from Foden. We've not seen enough of him in this whole game, and if someone's going to come off, I would imagine it would be him, but that's what you want from him, a little bit more. Yeah, it was a simple save in the end, but at least he created the opportunity, got the shot on target. Do that a few more times, and maybe you'll put it just a couple of yards to the side of the keeper.
Well, they're playing the ball about here, Bodø Glimt, and they might as well do that. The crowd are jumping with delight all around the four sides of the stadium here. Out on the left is Bjørkan, who's looked very good from left back. Plays it back to Jens Petter Hauge, who's certainly scored the goal of the game and maybe the goal of the week in the Champions League. I'd be surprised if we see a better one. Now on halfway is Gunderson, and they just need to keep the ball here, Bodø Glimt.
I mean, I'd love to see a better one. It would be
good to watch, wouldn't it? It was a magnificent moment. Have Manchester City been even more disappointing in the second half, Scott, in some ways?
It's a good question. I just think they've been so disappointing, defensively in both halves. And, to go 3-0 down and suddenly, it looks like that's it. And then suddenly, bang, 3-1. Don't get sent half. Don't go down to 10 men. And don't have your arguably most senior pro, your captain on the night, being the one getting that second yellow.
Foden's going to go off here, which is exactly what you predicted, Scott Minto. 20 minutes to go. Foden marches towards the touchline, and Marmouche will replace him. He looks like he sort of shakes his head there, Foden. Not sure he can have too many complaints to come off.
No, he can't. He's got that kind of bandaged hand, doesn't he? I'm not sure that's necessarily affected him.
Well, they were worried about the injury at Old Trafford, weren't they? They thought it could have been a broken arm at one stage.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and I'm sure it's not ideal. Don't know how painful it is, but not a great game from him tonight.
Corner delivered in high by Cherki, in swinging, headed down and wide by Alay. From much further out than his opportunity in the first half. Had that got in, of course, it could have turned into a very different evening, but as it is, with 20 minutes to go, the 10 men of Manchester City are 3-1 down in Norway.
Yeah, I say that about Phil Foden, by the way, because I know what a talent he is, what a great player he can be, and what he was a couple of seasons ago, and what you want him to get back to. In terms of that was a much more difficult chance for Max Alane than it was in the first half. And you go back to those chances in the first half, even though they defended poorly, you could say that City should have scored 3, perhaps even 4. And yet they still have only got that one goal.
No, they simply haven't defended well enough, or been good enough off the ball in general. There is still time, but it'll be some recovery if the 10 men manage to do it from here. 3-1 down. Forward by Alane. There haven't really been any signs of nerves from the Bodø Glimt players. Bodø Glimt, who've got an outside chance of making the playoffs in the Champions League. They're 4 points adrift of 24th at the start of the evening, so a point away at the moment, but of course everybody else has still got to play a bit later on. This is going to really hurt Manchester City's top 8 chances, though, Scott.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will. Because I would imagine the teams around them are just below them. Even a lot of them, even if they just get a point. As you say, Liverpool in 9th. Just outside the automatic places are only 1 point off City right now, so this match day could end very badly for them.
Shervold winning it back in the right back position, and Evian with a risky crossfield pass to Bjørkan, but it reaches in via deflection. Haaland hasn't had anything in front of goal in the second half, has he? 18 minutes to go. Hard to see a Manchester City recovery here.
Yeah, and just on Haaland, it's worrying, isn't it? Because, you know, he is going through a drought at the moment. We know he's a truly world-class finisher. And yet it's another game where at this moment in time he's not getting the chances. So, I mean, it's one thing to be getting chances and missing them. You know, you don't worry so much as a striker. Of course, you're annoyed that you don't finish them off and you want to score all the time. But if you're not even getting chances, that's the most worrying thing.
Well, it'll be 1 goal in 8 for Erling Haaland. That is a crisis by his extremely high standards. Riley for Manchester City, midway inside opposition territory. Back to the halfway line. The 10 men now, all in green, up against a team who are absolutely sparkling with confidence at the moment, Bodø Glimt. They lead 3-1 under the floodlights of the Aspmyra Stadium. Northern Norway, it's a very small town, is Bodø, just north of the Arctic Circle, and it will be their greatest night if they can hold on to it. I think they're going to make a change shortly.
Yeah, I just wonder though, in terms of Pep, whether he might have just go for it. You know, it's a one-off game. You want to try and just get a point out of it. And look at the bench, 2 goalkeepers, teenagers, but still Jeremy Doku's on it. And I wonder whether you take off Aït-Nouri, you put Marmoush on the left, you take off Aït-Nouri, put him on the right. Obviously he's a very attacking player. You're down to 10 men, but why not just try and gamble? Aït-Nouri's not really affecting the game.
A double, maybe triple change on the way for the home team. Bodø Glimt 3, Manchester City down to 10 men 1. Bjørkan out on the left. Is there the belief, Scott, that Manchester City can come back into it? Are you seeing that still? Well, we'll get another word from Scott in a moment, because here come Bodø Glimt. Halga with a chip out to the right. Blomberg, right corner of the penalty area. Shervold tried to cut it back. It was he with the underlapping run, and he wins a corner off a lane.
Do I see belief? No. If they get the next goal, still. I mean, you know, look, you're playing for Manchester City. You never give up. You always give it 100%. But do I think that Manchester City will come back and get something out of this game? No. I mean, look, the players just won't be thinking anything. They'll just be thinking, trying to get that next goal. I don't see the belief, but these players will never give up for sure.
Well, 3 changes coming up for Bodø Glimt. Off go Blomberg and Høg, 2 of the key creators. Evian likewise. And coming on, Andreas Helmersen, a big centre forward. Ulrik Saltnes, who is a club legend. And Sondre Aukland, who is another midfield player. Høg, who scored the 2 goals to get the scoring started, and his contribution has been key. They've only got 15 minutes plus added time to hold out here, Bodø Glimt.
Well, he's the match winner, isn't he, Høg, at this moment in time? Look, there's still 15 minutes to go. The problem is they're down to 10 men. That's the problem. And they still do look defensively vulnerable.
Corner to Bodø Glimt. They couldn't stretch their lead, could they? Under the floodlights here, everybody behind the goal wrapped up in bright yellow scarves and hats. Delivered in high by Berg, headed away only as far as Aukland. First touch in the area, dispossessed by Haaland. Now here's the counter for Manchester City. Omar Marmoush scampers over halfway, looks left to Cherki, back to Marmoush, into the area. He can cut it across. Good defending by Gundersen. It's a corner to Manchester City.
Good defending, got back very, very quickly, but you know, Marmoush has added something already since he's been on the pitch. A little bit of pace, a little bit of directness. There's more urgency now from City.
14 minutes to go. Corner taken short, and here is Reinders away on the inside left. Dead ball line, chips in the cross, header away. The 10 men are still on the attack here with Kusanov. Kusanov back to Lewis. That after Rodri was sent off earlier for 2 very quick bookings. It's Ait-Nouri with the angled pass to the right. Lewis is at walking pace. Bodø Glimt have got everybody in bright yellow behind the ball. Lewis shuffles infield, back to Alain. They've only got to stand and defend stoutly here, Bodø Glimt, and they'll do enough to win the game. If they can do that for 13 plus minutes, they're going to get maybe their greatest ever victory of all time. Out on the left is Cherki for Manchester City. He's going to wriggle infield away from Auckland. And the newly arrived Helmerson, he'll play it back to Alain and quickly thread it forward to O'Reilly, midway inside opposition territory, but no way through for Manchester City at the moment. Alain again. White boots on. Out to the right. Cherki's forward. Jinking into the area. Was he tripped? Is that a penalty? No. VAR will check it though. Cherki looked like to me that he could have been tripped twice in that run.
That looked a penalty to me. I don't know whether VAR, like the Premier League, in the Champions League, have the license of touches, but he's not touched the ball and he's run past him. How is that not a penalty?
Well, VAR will have been able to have a look at it, of course, Scott Minto, but nothing given. And Bodø Glimt have got away with it with 12 minutes to go.
I'm sorry, it's a guaranteed penalty. And in fact, it's two penalties, as you said.
Two fouls.
Two fouls in one.
Do you think that's given in the Premier League?
It's a good question. I know that VAR in the Premier League are trying to have the lightest touch more than ever. Less is more. I'm sorry.
That's not always the case, though, as we've seen.
No, it's not. I don't see how that's not a foul. If that's anywhere else on the pitch, it's a foul. First of all, it's Hauger, and then was it Saltness who brought him down?
Yep.
And the second one was worse than the first one, but the first one could have been argued as a foul, but it kind of stayed on his feet.
Good position to see it. The referee, Sven Jablonski from Germany, but it wasn't given. Manchester City, the 10 men, still 3-1 down. Fizzed in by Kusanov. Haaland on the volley with an audacious looping effort that is actually miles high and wide. And Haaland has shown his frustration throughout tonight. It's been a desperate night for Manchester City, whose very stoical travelling band of supporters are trying to cheer them on. Goal kick in the end to Bodø Glimt. Not that she necessarily managed the game that well, Bodø Glimt, up to this point, but they still lead 3-1. Here is O'Reilly for the 10 men of Manchester City over the halfway line. Back to Cherki. Cherki looks forward to Reinders. Reinders heavy touch inside the area. Shervold is back with him, and well, never a free kick, I didn't think. Reinders with the tamest of touches on Shervold, who came away with the ball anyway, and yet the referee gives Bodø Glimt a free kick. Not sure about that, really. I mean, there's a tiny tug, isn't there, Scott Minto?
Tiny tug. Again, it's not enough, is it? And you just wonder, there's a tight ground here, the fans incredibly passionate. As you say about the yellow wall, it's almost a mini Dortmund, isn't it? Just wonder if the referee's just a little bit influenced. And I'm sorry, if that's a foul, then how is that not a foul
on Ryan Cherki twice?
Cherki.
Well, we haven't had an explanation for that so far. You have to feel for the Manchester City fans who are watching this. As Scott was saying, these are the tight confines of the Aspmyra Stadium. It is only an 8,200 capacity, but the hierarchy and the home supporters are loving every minute of this. What about the two bookings for Rodri, Scott, in quick succession? They're pretty much the same kind of foul, aren't they?
No argument. Absolutely no argument. And it's not what you expect from Rodri. Saw pictures at the time of Pep Guardiola putting his head in his hands. And it was just after his pass was blocked, and then Hauger went past him for the third goal. Just a really shocking few minutes for the Manchester City captain, and someone who he'll be kicking himself. And I think it just goes to show, as I say, physically nowhere near yet, but he just needs to be playing minutes. We know the class and quality player he is. He just needs to be playing as much as possible, and it will come. Mustn't forget how long he's been out for, and then he's been picking up other injuries as well. You know, sometimes that can take another 6 or so months to get back to 100% fitness, but certainly a disappointing night for him.
Sondre Fett can't continue. He's been replaced by Isaac Marta for Bodø Glimt, who have it with Bjørkan, and they have a 3-1 lead in the Champions League here, Bodø Glimt. Inter Milan against Arsenal to come on Talksport 2. Tottenham against Dortmund on Talksport. Just download our free app and you can swipe between both stations at your leisure. We've got Champions League tomorrow night and Europa League on Thursday night on the network. Alain under pressure, going back towards his own goal line. Alain has to hook it clear, left-footed. Marmouche brings the ball down. Marmouche with the blue boots on wins the throw. Tomorrow night, Marseille against Liverpool and Newcastle against PSV. And then Fenerbahce against Aston Villa and Nottingham Forest away at Braga on the network on Thursday. So, 7.5 minutes for Manchester City here. The 10 men to somehow salvage an unlikely draw. A wonderful night for the town of Bodø and Bodø Glimt Football Club. They have been the better team.
Do you know what? Obviously, earlier in the season, they were 2-0 up against Spurs, and Spurs found a way to come back to 2-2. And we talk about fitness as well. Well, they haven't played a competitive game for 41 days. Again, people are talking about they'd be fresh. I thought they'd be undercooked, but going down to 10 men is the killer because they're not able to pass it and really tire Bodø Glimt out and then go at them the last 10 minutes.
Bjørkan over the top. Hauge was offside and he knew it. Out comes Donnarumma. Manchester City with that very high defensive line. It worked for them there. 6.5 minutes to go. Is there any late response from Manchester City? He's only made one change, Guardiola. Are you surprised at that? No Doku?
Yeah. Why would you not bring Doku on?
They have got a big injury list. Long ball by Alain, header away by Shervold, and one back deep initially by Marmouche, but quickly across to get it back for Bodø Glimt. His Saltness has knocked it out of play for a throw.
I mean, I did say that Pep Guardiola doesn't normally like to make substitutions, but you're 2 goals down and 10 men down. Just gamble, go for it.
Oh, O'Reilly in on the dead ball line, dinks it across, Haaland chests it down, Reinders with a deflection on the shot. Good block and cleared away by Bodø Glimt. That was excellent defending inside the penalty area because Reinders caught that really well, and if the 10 men were to get a goal here, it would make for a very interesting last 5 minutes. Plus added time, Scott Minto.
Yeah, it was brilliant play from Nico O'Reilly, just creating the space, going past a couple of players, decent touch from Haaland, just really good defending really from Bodø Glimt, saying you ain't going to score here or at least get a shot on target.
Yeah, the home fans are jumping for joy at the moment.
And as much as I say make a substitution, I'm not telling Pep Guardiola what to do.
You sure? Here goes Lewis down the middle. He's given it straight to Saltness. Really poor pass. Threaded up the middle by Rico Lewis. Given away then by Alain. And suddenly the counter is on and it's 4 against 3. Running up the middle was Marta. Play continued initially. Referee did play the advantage there, but somehow Helmerson got himself into an offside position. It was really poor play by Helmerson there.
Do you know what? I'm loath to criticise Manchester City too much, but defending, sometimes it looks like it's under 10s. It just looks so open, and I know they're down to 10 men, and I know they're chasing the game, but there's still no real structure. And if Bodø Glimt had been clever there, they absolutely, with that high line, would have been able to create an opportunity, and probably someone would have been able to run with the ball 40 yards and a 1-on-1 with Donnarumma.
A Cherky for Manchester City at the other end, about 30 yards out, looks for O'Reilly on the overlap. His first time cross is turned away. O'Reilly gets it back for Manchester City again. This is Talksport 2. Cherky's ball in is a poor one and smuggled upfield by Berg. No real ambition for Bodø Glimt here other than to defend what they have, which, given there are 4 minutes left and they're up against 10 men with stoppage time to come, is completely understandable.
I mean, I'm frustrated, and I'm not a Manchester City fan, but I want the English eyes to do well, so I can only imagine what the Manchester City fans must be thinking.
This will be a blow to Manchester City's hopes of qualifying automatically for the knockouts. It's also a Potentially embarrassing result, this. Cherky, though, has won it back down by the dead ball line. Scampers into the area. Chips up a high cross. O'Reilly's header. Oh, he should have scored. Straight at the goalkeeper. And is that Manchester City's chance gone? Sums up the night.
It does. I mean, look, I've got to say, first and foremost, Nico O'Reilly's been absolutely superb. Playing in that left back, I say left back, it's more of a left wing back, despite them being four at the back. Both he and Aït-Nouri have not really come back to defend, and there's certainly been an issue with the two of the goals there, but on the ball, he's always tried to be creative, and he was unlucky there in the end.
Outland barged over by Kusanov, no foul. The referee with an emphatic signal that play should continue. Rico Lewis for Manchester City losing out to Marta on the near side of the field. Out of play it goes for a throw to Bodø Glimt. We're only 2.5 minutes plus added time away from the end here on Talksport 2. Bodø Glimt 3, the 10 men of Manchester City 1. Who would have thought it at the start of the evening? But a really sensational result is in prospect here.
Well, who would have thought it after 20 minutes? After that initial start, it was Man City who were in control. The goal came against the run of play, but suddenly, bang, bang, 2 counter-attack goals. You just cannot afford to defend like that.
It's a good point that you make, though, Scott Minto, because even in those opening couple of minutes, there were a couple of warning signs for Manchester City that if they didn't defend properly, Bodø Glimt could punish them, and that is exactly what has happened. Less than 2 minutes of normal time remain. Manchester City, with just 10 men, have got to score twice. Elaine will play it square to the feet of Rico Lewis, who's dropped in between the two centre-halves. Lewis belts the ball long upfield. Header away by Bjørtuft for Bodø Glimt. It's dropped down to Ryan Cherky. Cherky's reverse ball down the right. Reinders with a chance to cross here. Dead ball line. He can't put it back in time. That's definitely gone out of play, and it was gathered by the goalkeeper anyway. Bodø Glimt look thoroughly pumped up here on the field and in the stands, and they're only minutes away from that historic victory.
Brilliant defending from Gunnarsson there, it really was. He read the run from Reinders. It was a really good direct forward pass as he got into the box. And if he wanted to try and whip the ball first time in behind the Bodø Glimt defence, and he wasn't able to because Gudmundsson put his body in the right position, and then he tried to go past him, and again he just used his strength, and in the end was able to make sure that Reinders just kicked the ball out, and they were able to just take a bit of time, and they're literally 40 seconds away from 90 minutes now.
Yes, stoppage time is very nearly upon us here. Live football will carry on. Little flick by Helmerson all the way through to Donnarumma. Inter Milan against Arsenal here on Talksport 2. On Talksport, Tottenham against Borussia Dortmund. A choice of listening for you on this Champions League Tuesday. The ball is out on the right-hand side for Manchester City. The border's gone up on that far side of the field. I couldn't quite see how much had been added on. Kusanov down by the corner flag for Manchester City. Double deflection. Good challenge by Gunnarsson. And that'll be a goal kick, and it's celebrated like a fourth goal for Bodø Glimt. 4 minutes of added time. 4 minutes between Bodø Glimt and their greatest ever result.
Yeah, I think it would be. When you think about the opposition they're up against. First win ever in the Champions League. Yes, they've won Norwegian titles. We mustn't forget, it's less than a decade ago that, these are just one of the smallest sides in Norway. Suddenly they've gone up through the divisions, won the title, didn't win it last year, but what a story this would be.
They're on the attack again with Hauge wriggling his way through. The chance is on for number 4. Good save by Donnarumma. And Hauge again on the edge of the D. It was the substitute, Helmerson, who was denied. Manchester City smuggled upfield. The 10 men, 3-1 down. Away on the right-hand side for Manchester City is Ryan Cherky, darting towards the corner of the penalty area. Cherky onto the left foot. It's got to go in here realistically for Manchester City because they need to score 2. Lane has played it backwards. Bodø Glimt defending in numbers. The yellow wall in front of Manchester City. Floated in by Lane. Takes one bounce over the head of Marmoush and gathered by the goalkeeper. Bodø Glimt are nearly there.
Do you know what? And you're right. As Max Alain's got the ball, you're thinking he's got to go in somehow. But he's looking up and there's no real movement. So he plays it to the side. It comes back. And there's only Marmoush who's making that run into the box. I'm looking at Erling Haaland, and Reinders has done it a few times in this game, but Erling Haaland's just kind of standing still. It's not that movement from him that you expect, and you want him to be going one way, Marmoush to be going the other. Ask some questions to this Bodø Glimt defence.
Oh, they are not doing enough of that. Manchester City halfway through the 4 minutes of added time. Bodø Glimt 3, the 10 men of Manchester City 1. Cherki square to Rico Lewis, angled ball out to the far side. Ait Nouri in possession. Ait Nouri with a chance to cross, but he's blocked off by Bjerke. And they'll clear it upfield here. Bodø Glimt with Hauge. Hauge is tripped from behind by Cherki. That's a yellow card as we welcome listeners from Talksport. And Manchester City are 90 seconds away from an humiliating defeat here in Norway. It is Bodø Glimt 3, the 10 men of Manchester City 1. City 3-0 down before they looked like they'd woken up. Ryan Cherki putting them back into the match, but then moments later Rodri sent off for 2 almost simultaneous bookable offences for exactly the same type of foul, and City are slipping to a damaging Champions League defeat tonight. Scott Minter.
Yeah, when you think about it, in the first couple of minutes Bodø Glimt had a couple of chances to score, but then in the next 20 it was all sitting. You're thinking, actually, this is going to be a reasonably comfortable win. Suddenly, counter-attack, bang, 1-0. 2 minutes later, counter-attack, bang, 2-0. And both times, the goal scorer, Høg, was free at the far post. Can't afford to defend like that. It's created 3 or 4 chances in that first half, and they should have scored at least 1, 2, possibly even 3. Didn't score any. You're 2-0 down, suddenly 3-0, and down to 10 men at 3-1. No, it's just not good enough defensively.
It is a stunning start to Champions League Tuesday, live on the Talksport network. Inter against Arsenal to come on Talksport 2. Spurs against Dortmund on Talksport. We've got 10 seconds to play here on the plastic pitch in Bodø. Bodø Glimt leading by 3-1. The referee has looked at his watch. The final whistle is just seconds away. The final whistle is blown. An embarrassing night for Manchester City. A chastening night for Pep Guardiola in the Champions League. And just days after being defeated in the Manchester derby, City are stunned in the Arctic Circle by Bodø Glimt, who have won a match in the Champions League proper for the first time ever. The likes of Erling Haaland and co have shaken their heads throughout the 94 minutes. Manchester City was simply not at the races. Defensively, all going forward, sloppy in both boxes, and Manchester City were punished for that. 2 goals in 2 minutes from Kasper Høg in the first half. The third goal, scored by Jens Petter Hauge, was a contender for goal of the league phase so far. Then Ryan Cherki almost immediately got Manchester City back into the match, but Rodri, with a rare piece of petulance, 2 bookings in the space of a minute or so, sent off for a second bookable offence, and there on in, Manchester City could not find a way back. It is a result that is a real blow to their hopes of finishing in the top 8 in the Champions League. For Bodø Glimt, the first Norwegian team to win a match in the Champions League proper since 2007-2008, it may be their greatest night in their football history. And the home team take the acclaim of the home crowd at this tiny ground in freezing conditions with the floodlights on here. A remarkable night for them, but a desperate defeat for Manchester City, and the problems continue for Pep Guardiola. Bodø Glimt 3, the 10 men of Manchester City won.
Joe, thank you very much. I've just had a message from a Man City fan saying I've no idea what's happening to my club at the moment. So I can tell him that Man City stay fourth in that Champions League table, which sounds healthy. But if Spurs win here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium tonight, they go above City. They could fall out of that top 8 by the time this midweek round of Champions League games is done, the penultimate round of games. And it could be another playoff place for Manchester City. And we all know what happened in the playoffs for City last season. So, Scott Minto, you've been on co-commentary for that. Can you explain what is going wrong for Manchester City? Because that is embarrassing and humiliating.
Yeah, absolutely, Aid. You know, we were looking for the performance against Newcastle. We got the performance against Manchester United. Certainly from a defensive point of view. They did create chances in the first half. But, I mean, Ryan Aït-Nouri was playing right back. That was a little bit of a surprise, but he's still a fullback. He should know exactly when to tuck round, when not to. But both him and Nico O'Reilly were playing like wing-backs. And, you know, if one of the two centre-halves made a mistake and suddenly there was a counter-attack from Bodø Glimt, there was no one to protect them. You know, we can come on to Rodri, actually, is sending off, and actually his role in 3-0 as well. But he's not giving the protection of this back four at the moment. He's still off it from a physical point of view. And honestly, Aid, it was just as bad defensively as it was at Old Trafford. And you can't afford to do that in the Champions League. This is a Bodø Glimt side that, you know, yes, it's cold and yes, it's an artificial pitch, but it's a very good artificial pitch. No complaints on either of those. They hadn't played a competitive match for 41 days. And, you know, I'm thinking they're going to be absolutely undercooked. Of course, the crowd are going to be, you know, massive and behind them. And they were just that. But they were in control, and suddenly, bang, bang, you're 2-0 down. You cannot afford to do that away from home against any team in the Champions League. And it just wasn't good enough.
Well, let me have a look at that Man City defence, because it's shambolic, but that's not news. There's no news breaking here. Diaz, Gvardiol, Stones all out. Akanji's out on loan. You've got Elaine pulled back from Watford to go straight into the first team in the Premier League and the Champions League. Kusanov, irate, but I don't think he's the finished article yet. And you're talking about wing-backs and Aït-Nouri on the wrong side. I think maybe even part of the problem, and I think that's been proven tonight, is Rodri is not what he was. I mean, for him to get sent off for those 2 stupid yellow cards when Manchester City needed him, crucially, I think just shows that he's not where he was.
He's not, and we'll start with the negatives in terms of before the 2 yellow cards, the goal. He's on the ball at the halfway line. They're 2-0 down. His pass was blocked. He then comes across as Jens Hauger is running with the ball, and he goes past him as if he wasn't there. And then it's a wonderful finish. And, you know, Joe's talked about it. It'd be the best goal you'll see in the Champions League. But if I see a better one, I can't wait for it. But then he gets that yellow card. And then literally minutes later, maybe not even that, he does exactly the same thing on a yellow, which tells me that from a physical point of view, he's still miles off it at the moment. Look, he's a world-class player, he's a Ballon d'Or winner, but at this moment in time, he does need minutes on the pitch, but yeah, he's nowhere near the Rodri he was before that serious injury.
Well, Man City did score, Cherki with the goal, but that was a bit of a shambolic pinball effort, wasn't it? The ball was going well wide, deflected back in. It wasn't exactly the best created goal, but they did score. However, Erling Haaland didn't score. What have you got to say to summarise his performance tonight?
Look, I've got to be very careful what I say here, because Erling Haaland is one of the greatest finishers on this planet right now and might end up being one of the greatest this planet has ever produced. But that's 1 goal in 8 now. And, you know, I looked at his movement. The strikers go through patches and streaky patches. And I don't worry about him. He will come again. But just in terms of this particular game, I'm looking at him for movement. There's no movement there. I'm looking at Marmouche when he comes on and he's running in behind. I'm looking at Reinders and he's running in behind. I'm looking at Erling Haaland wanting to do something similar. And again, it's that performance that we saw at Old Trafford, where if it's not Erling Haaland, he probably gets taken off, or if they have more options on the bench, he probably gets taken off. And that's just where he is right now. So it's a worrying performance from him. It's a worrying little run. Will he come good again? Absolutely 100%. And he'll still be top scorer in the Premier League. But Manchester City need him now. If they're going to come back, claw back what happens in the Premier League, and they're actually going to make sure that they give it to Arsenal come the very end of the season, then he needs to get back to the form that he was a month or so ago, because he and City, from a defensive point of view, are a million miles away from it.
City next week, home to Galatasaray. They are away to Atletico Madrid tomorrow in one of the early games, Galatasaray. But the pressure is on in that game, isn't it?
Absolutely. And look, do you expect them to win against Galatasaray? Absolutely, at home. But then, we expected them to get something out of today. I actually did think it would be a difficult game, but then again, we look at the 41 days from not playing, just the 2 friendlies that Bodø Glimt have had. We just thought that I thought that they might tire if City play their usual sort of passing game and really tire teams out. But if you go down to 10 men, you're not able to do that. That is an absolutely massive game, because they've got 7 games in February already. The last thing they want is to be in the playoffs and have 9 games when they've already got injuries. Need to put Mark Gay in the side as soon as possible, but they need some kind of protection as well. And Pep Guardiola, he might just have to not sacrifice his principles, but just play in a little bit of a different way. Might need 2 holders. You might need his fullbacks to play as fullbacks rather than wing backs, because at the moment they just look so open, and those back-to-back performances are very worrying going forward. I mean, in a way, it's good. I don't mean this disrespectfully. It's good that they got Wolves coming up, but Wolves aren't the Wolves side that they've been this season. They're looking difficult to beat at the moment. So yeah,
they're in form. Yeah,
well, absolutely. So I say it's a big week. Every week is a big week. It's Manchester City. But one thing they do not want to do is be below that bottom line and be in the playoffs, because those 2 extra games are making it 7 to 9. They're just going to tire this City side out, and I expect them to get through, although you don't know who they're going to get in the playoffs, and you just alluded to it, what happened last season. But also, even if they do, it's just extra games that come the end of the season, the business end of the season. How fit are they going to be? They need to go on that winning run now to catch Arsenal. And if they are going to win in the Champions League as well, they need to be fresh. They need to make sure they finish in the top 8.
Bodø Glimt 3, Man City 1. Time now for us to pick our man of the match with Enterprise Rent-A-Car.
The Here For It hero on Talksport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Whatever it is, we're here for it.
Scott Minto, who are you going for?
Do you know what? I thought Nico O'Reilly played really well, and he went forwards. I mean, do I pick a Bodø Glimt player or do I pick a Man City player?
Of course you pick a Bodø Glimt player.
I didn't know we got lots of Norwegian listeners here. Ryan Cherky, I just want to give a mention, because I did think he was very, very good. But, I mean, look, how can you not give it to... I mean, Jens Hauger was a brilliant strike, but Berg, for me, was the one who got the 2 goals and really psychologically put Bodø Glimt in front, where City never really looked like they were going to come back. So I'm going to give it to their number 9, Kasper Berg.
Yeah, he gave them the belief. The Hauger goal was sensational. Very, very quickly, Scott, and I'm not allowed the time to ask you this, but Phil Foden was taken off on 70 minutes with the score at 3-1. He is not in form right now. Should England be worried?
Look, there's still plenty of time between now and the summer, but at this moment in time, I said for 10-15 minutes before that, I'd take him off. Yeah, he was not in being good form back-to-back games, but I think there's a lot of City players that can say that.
Indeed. Scott, thank you very much. That was our Here For It hero, man of the match from today's game with Enterprise Rent-A-Car.